Meghan Markle past revealed. Ghislaine Maxwell unearths old CV indicating earned money prostitution. A chill runs through the corridors of power whenever a buried secret threatens to resurface. Scandals have a way of creeping back to the surface no matter how deep they are buried. And when those involved are high-profile figures, the weight of revelation becomes all the more seismic. For years, Meghan Markle's past has been the subject of whispers, theories, and rumors. From her early struggles in Hollywood to her rise as a royal and global activist, the narrative has often been carefully controlled. But what if there were missing pieces? What if there was something deliberately concealed? A bombshell claim has begun making waves in exclusive circles, one that threatens to rewrite Meghan's history altogether. At the center of it all is none other than Ghislaine Maxwell, a woman whose own past is as scandalous as they come. Currently serving a lengthy prison sentence for her role in Jeffrey Epstein's infamous network, Maxwell is a name that evokes secrecy, power, and manipulation. She has been known to keep detailed records, documents, and lists, leverage in the form of names, dates, and associations that many fear to see exposed. Now, reports have emerged that Maxwell has unearthed something astonishing, a supposed CV from Meghan Markle's past, containing information so controversial that it raises a crucial question. Was Meghan involved in something far more secretive, far darker, than what the world has been led to believe? Could this document provide evidence of an undisclosed history that ties her to scandalous activities that go beyond what has been speculated? But how did this happen? How did a woman who was once an actress struggling to make ends meet ascend to the status of global icon and duchess, while seemingly leaving little trace of controversy in her wake? More importantly, why would Maxwell, who has nothing to lose, bring this information forward now? To understand the gravity of this revelation, we must first examine the layers of Meghan's past that have long been overshadowed by the glamorous facade of her present. When Meghan Markle first emerged in Hollywood, she was like many hopefuls, young, ambitious, eager to break into an industry known for being ruthless. Her journey was not an overnight success. In the early 2000s, she worked multiple side jobs, from being a calligrapher to working as a briefcase girl on Deal or No Deal. But, as some sources suggest, there were also gaps in her timeline, moments where the record remains unclear. For any struggling actress in Hollywood, the pressure to survive can lead to choices that are later difficult to reconcile with a polished public image. Hollywood is filled with stories of people who did what they had to do to stay afloat. There have been long-standing rumors about Meghan's early life that have circulated in niche forums and gossip columns, but never before has such a claim been backed by someone with real access to records, someone who operated in the most elite, secretive circles. Ghislaine Maxwell's credibility is murky, and anything she claims must be taken with a grain of salt. However, she has previously been linked to possessing extensive documentation about many high-profile individuals, documents that law enforcement, journalists, and intelligence agencies have long sought to uncover. If there is any truth to what she now alleges, it could shake the very foundation of Meghan's carefully built persona. The resurfacing of this CV, if proven to be authentic, would not only call into question Markle's past, but also how she has managed to keep it hidden for so long. The possibility of deliberate omissions, media suppression, or even legal efforts to erase aspects of her history raises troubling concerns. Could it be that Meghan's rise was aided by forces the public was never meant to see? Could this document link her to individuals or activities that, if exposed, would forever change public perception of her? Timing is everything, and Maxwell's claim doesn't emerge in isolation. Meghan and Prince Harry have been embroiled in a relentless battle for their public image, fighting back against criticism, skepticism, and the lingering shadow of their departure from the royal family. If there was ever a moment for a revelation of this magnitude to surface, it would be now, when the world is already watching, waiting for the next chapter in the ongoing saga of their lives. But the question remains, why now? Why would Ghislaine Maxwell, locked away in a prison cell, suddenly decide to bring forth a document that could shatter the reputation of one of the most scrutinized women in the world? Is this an act of revenge? A calculated move to distract from her own legal troubles? Or does Maxwell know something that the rest of the world is only now beginning to discover? There is another angle to consider, the power of blackmail and secrets. Those who move in elite circles understand that information is currency, and for years, Maxwell has been known as someone who collects secrets. If this document has been in her possession for some time, it's worth questioning whether it has been used as leverage in ways the public is unaware of. Could this revelation be part of a much bigger scheme? Is it meant to target not just Meghan but others connected to her? The implications of this claim are far-reaching. If substantiated, the story will not only force Meghan to confront the ghosts of her past, but it could also trigger a media firestorm, legal battles, and further scrutiny into how she navigated her rise to prominence. The public has always been divided on Meghan Markle. Some see her as a victim, others as a master manipulator of her own narrative. This new development threatens to sway that perception definitively in one direction or another. At this stage, all that exists are claims, whispers, and a mounting sense of curiosity. The world is watching, waiting for more details to emerge, for verification or denial, for the first signs of fallout. But one thing is certain: this is no ordinary rumor. This is a story that, if proven true, could have consequences far beyond just Meghan Markle. It could reveal the extent to which history has been rewritten, reputations have been safeguarded, and power has been wielded behind closed doors. As we dive deeper into this unfolding story, we will examine every detail. What the document allegedly contains, how it was discovered, the reaction from Meghan's camp, and the broader implications it could have. No matter where one stands on Meghan Markle, the emergence of this CV forces an uncomfortable question. How much of what we think we know is actually the truth? The nature of secrets is that they only hold power when they remain hidden. Once revealed, they become weapons, tools for leverage, or scandals that cannot be ignored. That is the situation now unfolding as reports claim that an old CV belonging to Meghan Markle has been unearthed. One containing details so controversial that it threatens to dismantle her carefully curated public image. At the heart of this revelation is Ghislaine Maxwell, a woman whose very name is synonymous with secrecy, scandal, and high-profile connections. Maxwell is no stranger to powerful figures, and her knowledge of the elite's darkest secrets is well documented. For years, her role within Jeffrey Epstein's network made her one of the most powerful women in the shadows, someone who operated on the fringes of respectability while controlling a world few knew existed. But how did Maxwell come across this alleged document? How did a CV that should have remained buried suddenly resurface under such suspicious circumstances? The origins of the document remain murky, but early reports suggest that it was uncovered through Maxwell's personal archive, an extensive collection of names, records, and correspondences that she has reportedly held onto for years. Some believe she maintained these documents as a safeguard, a form of protection against potential threats or legal consequences. Others argue that her habit of keeping such detailed records was less about protection and more about control. She knew things about powerful people, and that knowledge made her untouchable for years. Now, with Maxwell serving a lengthy prison sentence, the question arises: why reveal this document now? One theory suggests that Maxwell is using this revelation as a bargaining chip, hoping to gain some form of legal leniency by offering information that could shift the public focus onto someone else. Another possibility is that this is an act of revenge, a way of exposing someone she once interacted with or had knowledge of, especially if she believes that certain individuals abandoned her when she needed their support the most. The exact details of the CV itself remain highly guarded, but early whispers suggest that it contains shocking information. Unlike a standard resume listing acting roles, education, and skills, this document reportedly includes details that imply involvement in activities far removed from the entertainment industry. It allegedly contains references to high-profile clients, unorthodox payment structures, and job descriptions that raise more questions than answers. Some sources claim that the language used in the document suggests coded terminology, words that on the surface appear ordinary but, within certain circles, could imply something far more controversial. This is a common practice in elite underground networks. Language is often manipulated to obscure the true nature of interactions. If this is the case with Meghan's alleged CV, it raises serious concerns about what it was truly documenting. Another aspect of the CV that has drawn attention is the supposed timeline it presents. There are gaps in Meghan Markle's early career, periods where little is publicly known about her activities. The resurfacing of this document could provide missing pieces to those blanks. If the claims hold any weight, this could be evidence that during those undocumented years, Meghan may have been involved in work that she later sought to erase from her history. Skeptics argue that without verifiable proof, this document means nothing. It could be a forgery, a smear campaign, or a simple misunderstanding. However, if Maxwell's claims are true and the CV is authentic, it will force the public and media to reassess everything they thought they knew about Meghan Markle's past. This revelation also brings forth an important question. How has this document remained hidden for so long? If it was part of an employment history, why has it never been uncovered before? The answer may lie in the nature of powerful networks and their ability to erase records. Celebrities, politicians, and high-profile individuals have long relied on influence to keep certain details about their pasts from surfacing. It is entirely possible that this CV was buried intentionally, concealed through legal and financial means to ensure it never saw the light of day. But now, with Ghislaine Maxwell allegedly in possession of it, that control may have slipped. If the document has already reached investigative journalists or media outlets, it may only be a matter of time before its contents are made public. Public reaction to this emerging story has been mixed. Some refuse to believe it, arguing that Maxwell's history of deceit and manipulation makes her an unreliable source. Others are more open to the possibility, pointing out that Maxwell has previously provided information that turned out to be accurate. There is also the undeniable fact that when it comes to exposing the elite, the truth often starts as a rumor before becoming undeniable reality. If this document is authentic, the impact on Meghan Markle's reputation could be catastrophic. Unlike past controversies, which have largely been based on public perception and media narratives, this would be tangible evidence, something that cannot simply be dismissed as gossip or speculation. The media has already begun dissecting this claim, with experts weighing in on whether such a document could realistically exist. Legal analysts have noted that if the CV is indeed real, Meghan's team will likely move quickly to challenge its authenticity, possibly seeking injunctions to prevent its distribution. However, once information has been leaked, controlling it becomes nearly impossible. The stakes are incredibly high, not just for Meghan but for those associated with her. If this document contains connections to powerful figures, it could trigger further investigations into who else might be involved. This is not just about one individual's past. It is about the broader implications of what such a revelation could mean for those in elite circles. There is also the matter of how this will be handled by the royal family. Though Meghan and Prince Harry have distanced themselves from the monarchy, their actions still reflect upon the institution. If this scandal gains traction, the royal family may be forced to make a public statement, either to distance themselves further from Meghan or to address the growing controversy. As more details continue to emerge, one thing is certain. This is not a story that will quietly fade away. If anything, it is just beginning. The next step will be determining whether this document can be authenticated, whether more pieces of Meghan's past will come to light, and whether the public will ever see the full contents of this CV. For now, the world waits, speculation grows, and Meghan Markle finds herself at the center of yet another controversy. One that, if proven true, could change the course of her legacy forever. Long before she became one of the most talked about women in the world, Meghan Markle was just another young woman trying to carve out a space for herself. Her story, as told to the public, has often been one of resilience, ambition, and perseverance. She has painted a picture of struggle, breaking barriers, and making her own way despite the odds. But as more details begin to surface about the possibility of a hidden past, it becomes essential to scrutinize the early years that led her to where she is today. If this alleged CV is real, could it provide missing pieces to the narrative she has long presented? Meghan was born in Los Angeles in 1981, the daughter of Thomas Markle, a Hollywood lighting director, and Doria Ragland, a social worker and yoga instructor. From the outside, it seemed as though she had a privileged upbringing, benefiting from her father's industry connections and attending private schools. But behind closed doors, family struggles were brewing. Her parents divorced when she was young, and although she has spoken warmly about both of them at different points, her relationship with her father would eventually become one of the most scrutinized aspects of her personal life. Despite these challenges, Meghan was determined to make something of herself. She attended Immaculate Heart High School, an all-girls Catholic school in Los Angeles, where she developed an interest in activism and writing. Even then, she understood the power of narrative. She wrote letters to companies protesting sexist advertisements, and showed an early inclination toward using her voice to challenge norms. But high school years, no matter how carefully curated in later retellings, often leave gaps in the story. Meghan has described working various jobs as a teenager, including teaching calligraphy and working at a frozen yogurt shop. These details add to the perception of a hard-working, independent young woman trying to support herself. Yet, for all the clarity in some areas, other aspects of her early years remain more ambiguous. One of the biggest questions surrounding Meghan's early life is how she managed to support herself through the years when she was trying to break into Hollywood. Acting is a notoriously difficult profession to navigate, especially for someone without direct industry connections. While she did have the advantage of her father's career in television, she has often maintained that her rise was solely due to her own determination. She attended Northwestern University, where she studied theater and international relations, and it was during this time that she began to consider how to merge performance with advocacy. After graduation, Meghan moved back to Los Angeles and began the grueling process of auditioning. Like many aspiring actors, she had to take on side jobs to make ends meet. She has acknowledged working as a briefcase girl on the game show Deal or No Deal, but this has always been framed as just another job on her way to bigger things. However, reports suggest there may have been other sources of income during this time. Sources that were never disclosed in her official biography. This is where the timeline begins to get murky. There are gaps in the public record of Meghan's early career, stretches of time where it is unclear exactly what she was doing. Some of her early acting credits were minor roles in television dramas and films, but they were not enough to sustain a comfortable lifestyle in Los Angeles. Living in Hollywood is expensive, and many struggling actors take on various forms of work to support themselves while waiting for their big break. This raises an important question. If the alleged CV uncovered by Ghislaine Maxwell does, in fact, document previously unknown employment history, could it be linked to this period of struggle? If Meghan was involved in work that she later chose to keep private, would it align with the missing years in her public narrative? And if so, why has it remained hidden until now? One thing that cannot be ignored is that Hollywood has long been a place where young women looking for success have faced difficult choices. There is an undeniable dark side to the entertainment industry, where influence, power, and control determine who succeeds and who fades into obscurity. Many actresses have spoken out over the years about the compromises they were forced to make, the things they had to endure, and the environments they were exposed to as they fought for recognition. If Meghan's past does include experiences she has kept out of the public eye, it would not be unique to her. Many have had to make decisions in their early careers that they later preferred to forget. The difference here is that Meghan's current status as a former royal and global figure makes any revelation about her past a matter of public interest, especially if it contradicts the image she has worked so hard to maintain. Looking beyond speculation, another key aspect of Meghan's early years is how quickly she transitioned from struggling actress to Hollywood success. After years of small roles, she landed her breakthrough as Rachel Zane in the television legal drama Suits. The role provided her with financial stability and international recognition, and it was during this time that she began moving in more elite social circles. This was a turning point in her life, and from here, her trajectory only accelerated. It was during these years in the early 2010s that Meghan began to establish herself beyond just acting. She started a lifestyle blog, The Tig, where she promoted wellness, fashion, and empowerment. She also became involved in humanitarian efforts, aligning herself with causes that further bolstered her public image as a woman of purpose and intellect. This phase of her life became an essential part of the Meghan Markle brand, positioning her as more than just an actress. She was a thinker, an activist, and an independent woman redefining success. But as her public persona was being carefully shaped, were there aspects of her past that she was actively working to suppress? The discovery of an alleged CV with controversial implications raises doubts about whether everything presented to the public has been entirely truthful. It suggests the possibility of an alternative story, one that has remained deliberately hidden. To consider the implications of this revelation, one must examine the timeline carefully. If Meghan was involved in work outside of traditional acting before landing Suits, how did she ensure that no traces of it followed her into her later career? This is where the power of influence comes into play. Celebrities and high-profile figures often have the ability to control their own narratives, either through legal means, media relationships, or financial agreements that keep certain information out of the public domain. But control only lasts as long as the people guarding those secrets remain silent. Ghislaine Maxwell's alleged possession of this document suggests that silence may no longer be guaranteed. If this CV is authentic, it means someone from Meghan's past, someone with direct knowledge, kept a record that was never meant to be exposed. It means that no matter how carefully a story is crafted, pieces of the truth can still find their way back to the surface. This revelation, if proven true, would force a complete re-evaluation of Meghan Markle's rise to fame. It would challenge the very essence of her carefully cultivated public image and demand answers about what else may have been concealed. If her past includes elements that were purposefully omitted, it would raise significant ethical and legal questions. Could this be part of a wider pattern of deception? And if so, what else remains undiscovered? At this moment, the world is left to speculate. The alleged CV remains in the hands of sources who have yet to release its full contents, leaving room for both skepticism and curiosity. But one thing is undeniable. When a buried past resurfaces, it demands attention. No matter what the truth ultimately is, this chapter of Meghan Markle's life is now under a microscope, and the next developments will determine just how much of her history has been rewritten. When a revelation of this magnitude emerges, the first question that arises is why now? Timing is everything, and in the case of Ghislaine Maxwell, it is impossible to ignore the circumstances under which this alleged document has surfaced. Maxwell is not just any source. She is a convicted criminal, a woman whose name is synonymous with scandal, secrecy, and high-profile connections. For years, she moved in the shadows of the elite, operating in a world where information was both power and currency. If she is now choosing to reveal something about Meghan Markle, the motives behind it must be carefully examined. Maxwell has been a central figure in one of the most explosive legal cases in modern history. Her role as Jeffrey Epstein's closest associate and enabler placed her at the center of a global web of illicit activities. She was known to be meticulous, keeping records of names, dates, transactions, and details about some of the world's most powerful individuals. It was this very obsession with documentation that ultimately contributed to her downfall. The evidence against her was too detailed, too vast, and too incriminating to ignore. Now, serving a lengthy prison sentence, Maxwell finds herself in a position where she no longer holds the power she once did. The privileges, protection, and influence she enjoyed for decades have been stripped away, leaving her with little leverage. But one thing she still possesses is knowledge, information that could be used as a tool, a weapon, or a bargaining chip. If she truly has access to a CV linked to Meghan Markle, it is unlikely that she is exposing it out of sheer coincidence. There is a reason, and that reason must be explored. One possible explanation is that Maxwell is using this revelation as a strategic move to shift attention away from herself. Public interest in her case has not waned, and the scrutiny surrounding her crimes remains intense. By introducing a new controversy, particularly one involving a globally recognized figure like Meghan Markle, Maxwell could be attempting to create a distraction. If the media becomes fixated on this alleged CV, it could take pressure off Maxwell's ongoing legal battles, making her a secondary figure in the public eye rather than the primary target of continued investigation. Another theory is that Maxwell is seeking some form of leniency. Despite her conviction, the legal system is never entirely inflexible, and there are always opportunities for negotiations, sentence reductions, or new plea deals in exchange for valuable information. If Maxwell can offer authorities something they deem useful, particularly regarding other high-profile individuals, she may be hoping to improve her situation. While it is unlikely that revealing an alleged document about Meghan Markle would directly affect her sentence, it could be part of a broader effort to demonstrate that she still possesses information worth considering. But there is also a more personal angle to consider. Revenge is a powerful motivator, and Maxwell is not someone who has taken her downfall lightly. Throughout her trial, it became evident that she felt betrayed by many of the powerful people who once associated with her. There were whispers that some individuals distanced themselves from her the moment legal trouble began, leaving her to face the consequences alone. If Meghan Markle was once in Maxwell's orbit, whether directly or indirectly, it is possible that Maxwell sees this as an opportunity to expose someone she believes turned their back on her. It is no secret that the elite circles of Hollywood, politics, and aristocracy are tightly intertwined. Many figures who appear disconnected from one another are, in reality, linked through mutual acquaintances, hidden networks, and exclusive social circles. Maxwell was known to move within these circles effortlessly, and it is entirely possible that she encountered Meghan Markle at some point in her past. If such an encounter took place and was never publicly disclosed, the emergence of this alleged CV could be Maxwell's way of proving that their paths did indeed cross. There is also the question of whether Maxwell is acting alone. Given her past associations and the nature of her knowledge, it is not unreasonable to suspect that she may be working with others who have a vested interest in exposing Meghan Markle. The royal family, media moguls, or even former associates of Meghan could all potentially benefit from a scandal that calls her credibility into question. If Maxwell is being encouraged or supported in bringing this document to light, it would suggest a coordinated effort, rather than an isolated revelation. Another compelling angle to consider is the possibility that Maxwell is using this as a warning. She has long been known as someone who collected information not just for leverage, but also as a safeguard. If she had access to a document related to Meghan Markle, it stands to reason that she may have similar records on others. By revealing this CV, Maxwell could be sending a message to those who have abandoned her, a demonstration that she still holds secrets that could be damaging if brought to light. The credibility of the document itself is another factor that plays into Maxwell's motives. If it is authentic, it would be a bombshell that could not easily be dismissed. However, if it turns out to be exaggerated, altered, or outright false, it would raise questions about why Maxwell would fabricate such a story. The simplest answer is that she may be grasping at straws, attempting to remain relevant in a world that has largely moved on from her trial. But given her history, it is unlikely that she would make a claim without some degree of backing. She understands the weight of evidence, the power of documentation, and the need for plausible deniability. One must also consider how this plays into the broader narrative of Meghan Markle's life. If Maxwell is exposing this document as an attack, it suggests that Meghan may have been seen as a threat, an opponent, or someone who had the ability to affect Maxwell's position in some way. It is worth investigating whether there were any interactions, direct or indirect, that could have led to Maxwell holding onto such a record. Was Meghan linked to someone in Maxwell's network? Did she have any past dealings with individuals close to Epstein? These are questions that demand answers. The response to Maxwell's claim will also be telling. If Meghan's team aggressively denies the document's existence, seeks legal action, or attempts to suppress further discussion, it may indicate that the information is damaging enough to warrant immediate containment. On the other hand, if they dismiss it outright without much concern, it could suggest confidence that the allegations will not hold up under scrutiny. Either way, the manner in which this plays out will reveal more about the power dynamics at play. The involvement of the media in this story is another element worth considering. Maxwell has been a subject of intense journalistic investigation for years, with reporters continuously seeking new angles to expose more of what she knows. If she has chosen to leak this information, she would have done so with a clear understanding of how the press would handle it. The media thrives on controversy, and an explosive claim like this, linking Meghan Markle to something as scandalous as what is being suggested, would be impossible to ignore. But while the press may be eager to cover the story, there is also the matter of legal repercussions. If this document does indeed contain damaging information, Meghan's legal team will undoubtedly take swift action to prevent further exposure. However, this raises a paradoxical problem. The more aggressively they try to suppress the story, the more legitimacy it gains. If they ignore it, they risk allowing speculation to spread unchecked. It is a delicate balance, one that will require careful maneuvering in the coming weeks. In the end, Maxwell's motives remain layered and complex. Whether she is seeking revenge, leverage, distraction, or validation, one thing is clear: She has inserted herself back into the narrative in a way that demands attention. The emergence of this alleged CV has ignited a controversy that will not easily fade, and as more details come to light, the world will be watching closely. What happens next will depend on whether the document is real, whether it can be verified, and how those involved choose to respond. But one thing remains certain. Ghislaine Maxwell is not a woman who acts without purpose. Whatever her true intentions may be, she has ensured that the past will not remain buried. The moment an allegation of this magnitude surfaces, the first and most pressing question is whether it holds any truth. In an age where misinformation spreads rapidly, and false narratives can take on a life of their own, every detail must be scrutinized with a critical eye. If there is any legitimacy to the claim that an old CV belonging to Meghan Markle has been unearthed, one containing controversial information, the process of investigating its authenticity becomes paramount. The first step in this investigation is determining the origins of the document. Ghislaine Maxwell has been named as the source of this alleged revelation, but the exact manner in which she obtained or preserved such a document remains unclear. Maxwell has a well-documented history of keeping meticulous records, including documents, photographs, and lists of influential individuals with whom she had dealings. If this CV was indeed part of her collection, it raises immediate questions about how it came to be in her possession. Several possibilities exist. One theory suggests that the document was found among her personal archives, retrieved either by authorities during their investigation into her activities, or by someone within her inner circle who decided to leak it. Another possibility is that Maxwell was not the original source of the document at all, but rather obtained it from someone else with access to Meghan Markle's past records. If this is the case, then the true origin of the document remains an even bigger mystery. To verify the authenticity of the CV, forensic document analysts would be required to examine its contents. Key aspects of analysis would include the paper type, incomposition, formatting, and any digital signatures or watermarks. If the document dates back to a certain period, it should align with known templates used at the time for resumes and job applications. Any inconsistencies, such as fonts or formatting styles that did not exist when the CV was allegedly created, would be red flags indicating possible forgery. Handwriting analysis could also play a crucial role if there are handwritten notes or signatures on the document. Experts would compare these against known samples of Meghan Markle's handwriting to determine if she had any involvement in its creation. Additionally, forensic linguistics could be used to analyze the language and phrasing of the CV, comparing it to other known writings from Meghan's past to assess whether the tone, style, and structure align with her typical communication patterns. Beyond the physical and stylistic aspects of the document, the next major step in investigating the claims is cross-referencing the information listed within it. If the CV includes job titles, employers, or locations, those references must be thoroughly examined. Are there any known records of Meghan Markle working at these places? Are the listed employers real businesses that were operational during the alleged time period? Can former colleagues or associates verify that she was indeed employed there? One of the most pressing concerns raised by this alleged CV is whether it contains coded language or references to work that extends beyond traditional employment. If the terminology used in the document is vague or open to interpretation, experts in forensic accounting and criminal investigations may be required to analyze whether there are indications of financial transactions or employment arrangements that fall outside the norm. High-profile individuals often use coded language in sensitive documents to avoid explicit incrimination, making it crucial to determine whether this CV contains any such signs. Another layer of verification involves tracing the chain of custody of the document. If it originated from Maxwell's possession, who had access to it, who handled it before it was leaked, establishing a clear timeline of when and how the document was obtained is critical in determining its legitimacy. If the document has changed hands multiple times, it increases the possibility of tampering or alterations that could cast doubt on its credibility. Once the document's authenticity is assessed, the next logical step in the investigation is examining Meghan Markle's own history. The timeline of her early career must be meticulously reconstructed, comparing what is publicly known with what is suggested by the alleged CV. Meghan has spoken about her struggles as an actress before landing a major role on Suits, but there are gaps in her career trajectory that remain unclear. If the CV suggests employment or engagements that do not align with her known history, then either the document is inaccurate, or there is an aspect of her past that has been deliberately omitted. At this stage, investigators would turn to financial records, tax filings, and employment documents to verify Meghan's earnings during the period in question. If she was receiving income from sources not previously disclosed, those payments should have been documented in tax records. The absence of such records would raise questions about whether certain income streams were being concealed. One of the challenges in this investigation is the nature of high-profile individuals' ability to control their public narratives. Meghan Markle has access to powerful legal teams and media representatives who can shape, suppress, or redirect stories that emerge about her past. If this document is genuine and damaging, there will likely be efforts to suppress its release, discredit the source, or shift focus onto an alternative narrative. In contrast, if it is fraudulent, Meghan's legal team will likely pursue legal action against those responsible for its circulation. It is also important to consider the role of the media in shaping public perception of this claim. News organizations with differing political or ideological stances may choose to cover or ignore the story based on their editorial agendas. Some outlets may seek to amplify the allegations, while others may dismiss them outright as baseless speculation. The challenge for investigators and journalists alike is to separate fact from fiction, ensuring that the pursuit of truth is not clouded by bias or external influence. Another critical element of this investigation is the potential involvement of other individuals who may have knowledge of the document. If Meghan's alleged CV lists employers or clients, are there people who can confirm her involvement in those roles? Are there witnesses who can corroborate or refute the claims being made? If so, their testimonies would play a significant role in determining the document's legitimacy. One of the most overlooked aspects of such investigations is the potential for misinformation campaigns. The internet has made it easier than ever for false narratives to gain traction, and high-profile figures like Meghan Markle are often the target of fabricated claims. If this document is not genuine, it is crucial to determine whether it was created as part of a deliberate effort to damage her reputation. If that is the case, who stands to benefit from such a smear campaign? Is Maxwell acting alone? Or is there a larger network at play? If the CV turns out to be fabricated, the legal consequences could be significant for those involved in its dissemination. Defamation lawsuits could be filed, and those responsible for spreading false information could face severe repercussions. However, if the document is proven to be authentic, the implications would be even more far-reaching. It would raise serious questions about how Meghan Markle's past has been curated and controlled, and whether there has been an intentional effort to obscure certain details. The next phase of the investigation would involve analyzing Meghan Markle's response. If the document is authentic, will she acknowledge it and attempt to explain the details? Or will her team deny its legitimacy and work to discredit those making the claims? The manner in which she and her representatives handle this controversy will be telling. A straightforward, transparent response could help mitigate damage, while evasiveness or aggressive legal action may indicate that there is more to the story than they are willing to admit. Ultimately, investigating the claims surrounding this alleged CV is not a simple task. It requires forensic analysis, cross-referencing historical records, scrutinizing financial documents, and considering the motives of those involved in its revelation. Whether it is genuine or not, the fact that such a document has surfaced at all is enough to spark global debate and speculation. As this investigation unfolds, more details will emerge that will either substantiate or debunk the claims being made. For now, the world watches, waiting to see whether this will be another scandal that fades into obscurity or one that redefines the public perception of Meghan Markle forever. As news of the alleged CV discovery spread, speculation erupted across social media, news platforms, and public discourse. The world had been captivated by Meghan Markle's journey from actress to duchess, from a Hollywood hopeful to one of the most discussed women of the modern era. Now, a revelation from one of the most notorious figures in recent history, Ghislaine Maxwell, threatened to upend that narrative. The immediate question on everyone's mind was simple: how would Meghan respond? In the face of a potential scandal, there are several possible approaches: outright denial, strategic silence, aggressive legal action, or an attempt to reframe the conversation. In the past, Meghan Markle and her team have been swift in shutting down narratives that paint her in an unfavorable light. Whether through legal action, carefully controlled media statements, or selective interviews, she has worked to maintain a specific image in the public eye. This time, however, the challenge was greater. This was not a tabloid rumor or an anonymous accusation. It was a document allegedly tied to her past, one linked to a figure who, despite her crimes, was known for keeping detailed records of high-profile individuals. The first indication of how Meghan would handle the situation came from her legal team. Within hours of the story breaking, sources close to her began briefing select media outlets, dismissing the claims as baseless and defamatory. The core message was clear. The document was either fake, misinterpreted, or part of a calculated smear campaign against her. The language used was strong, suggesting that Meghan's team would pursue legal action against any outlet that perpetuated what they deemed to be false information. Yet, despite the firm stance, there was an underlying problem. In cases where a claim is entirely false, the most effective strategy is often to ignore it, allowing the lack of credibility to diminish its impact. But here, silence was not an option. The story had already gained traction, and refusing to address it would only fuel speculation. The longer Meghan remained silent, the more people would question why she was not addressing it directly. The legal threats were expected, but what observers were watching for was whether Meghan herself would speak on the matter. Would she address it head-on, or would she rely on representatives to handle the fallout? In the days following the revelation, no formal statement was released by Meghan personally. Instead, allies in the media began subtly pushing a counter-narrative, one that framed the story as an attack on her character, a coordinated effort to discredit her. According to sources close to Meghan, the timing of this leak was not a coincidence. They suggested that this was part of a broader pattern of attempts to undermine her credibility, particularly as she and Prince Harry continued to establish their post-royal life. Some pointed to the British media, suggesting that there were those who still harbored resentment toward her for the way she and Harry exited the royal family. Others speculated that it could be linked to individuals in Hollywood who viewed her as a threat to existing power structures. Regardless of the origin, Meghan's strategy appeared to be shifting toward damage control. Rather than directly refuting each detail of the alleged CV, the focus was on discrediting Maxwell and the sources behind the claim. Maxwell's history of criminal activity made her an easy target, and Meghan's team leaned into the idea that this was nothing more than the desperate ramblings of a disgraced woman with no credibility. But there was a complication. If Maxwell did indeed have documents, and if those documents were later verified through independent investigation, then the strategy of discrediting the source would fall apart. In anticipation of this possibility, Meghan's defenders began suggesting another angle. Even if such a document existed, there was no proof that it was authentic. This was a common tactic in crisis management, creating layers of doubt so that even if evidence surfaced, it would already be met with skepticism. Behind the scenes, it was likely that Meghan's legal team was working to determine how much control they had over the situation. Were there ways to legally challenge the release of any further documents? Could the media be pressured to stop reporting on the claims? If a lawsuit was filed, would it force those making the allegations to provide concrete proof? For those analyzing the response, one key factor stood out. Meghan was not addressing the details directly. She was not explaining gaps in her past timeline, nor was she providing alternative evidence to contradict the alleged CV. Instead, her approach was to frame the entire situation as a character assassination attempt. This approach had worked for her in the past. Meghan had long positioned herself as someone unfairly targeted by the press, a woman whose every move was scrutinized while others in similar positions were given far more leniency. By turning the conversation away from the document itself and toward the issue of media bias, she sought to rally support from those who had defended her in the past. But there was a risk to this strategy. If further evidence surfaced, whether additional documents, witness testimonies, or corroborating details, then the credibility of her response would be called into question. This was a high-stakes gamble. Meanwhile, public reaction to Meghan's handling of the situation was mixed. Her supporters remained steadfast, arguing that this was yet another example of a powerful woman being targeted with baseless smears. They pointed to historical patterns of how women in public life, particularly women of color, had been subjected to scrutiny that their male counterparts never faced. However, critics saw the response as evasive. They questioned why Meghan, who had always been vocal about setting the record straight on false reports, was not providing more direct answers. If the document was fake, why not present definitive proof debunking it? If there was nothing to hide, why not release her own verified employment history to counter the allegations? The lack of clarity only fueled more speculation. Some wondered if there was an element of truth to the claims, even if the full details were not yet known. Others questioned whether Meghan's history had been more complex than she had let on, and if this was simply a case of inconvenient details resurfacing at the worst possible time. At the heart of it all was a battle for control over the narrative. Meghan had spent years crafting her public image, shaping the way she was perceived by the world. This alleged CV, whether real or fake, threatened to unravel that image in ways she could not afford. As the controversy continued to unfold, the next phase of the response would be critical. Would Meghan take legal action to silence the claims once and for all? Would more evidence emerge, forcing her into a more detailed explanation? Or would this become another unresolved mystery, one that lingers in the public consciousness without ever being fully confirmed or debunked? Only time would tell how far this revelation would go. But one thing was certain: Meghan Markle was once again at the center of a storm, and how she navigated it would determine whether she emerged unscathed or permanently scarred. The impact of the alleged CV revelation was not limited to Meghan Markle alone. The ripples of controversy extended beyond her personal brand and into the very institution she had once been a part of, the British royal family. Despite her departure from royal duties alongside Prince Harry, Meghan's actions and reputation continued to affect the monarchy's public image, whether they wanted it to or not. Now, with the emergence of a potentially damaging document, the consequences of this revelation threatened to reignite tensions, deepen existing divisions, and alter public perception in ways that neither Meghan nor the royals could ignore. The first and most immediate concern was how this scandal would affect Meghan and Harry's standing in the public eye. While they had spent years crafting their identity as independent figures outside the constraints of royal life, their connection to the monarchy still shaped how the world perceived them. If this document was proven authentic, it would challenge the credibility Meghan had carefully built, particularly in relation to her advocacy for women's empowerment, integrity, and honesty. For Prince Harry, the stakes were equally high. He had repeatedly defended Meghan against what he described as unfair media scrutiny, portraying her as a victim of bias and misinformation. If it turned out that key details of her past had been deliberately concealed, it would raise questions about whether Harry himself had been aware of these details, or if he had been misled. The revelation could place him in a difficult position, either forced to continue defending Meghan in the face of mounting evidence, or forced to acknowledge that there were aspects of her past that he had not fully known. The British press, always eager for a royal scandal, wasted no time dissecting the implications. Tabloids ran headlines questioning whether Meghan's past had been thoroughly vetted before she married into the royal family. Conservative commentators seized upon the controversy as proof that Meghan had never truly belonged in the institution, using the alleged CV as ammunition in their long-running critiques of her. Others saw it as yet another example of the royal family failing to properly assess those who entered their ranks, drawing comparisons to past controversies involving other royal spouses. Behind palace walls, the reaction was likely far more complex. The royal family had spent years dealing with the fallout of Meghan and Harry's exit, enduring repeated criticisms from the couple in interviews, documentaries, and Harry's memoir. If this scandal gained traction, it might serve as an opportunity for the monarchy to further distance itself from Meghan, reinforcing the narrative that she had never been fully aligned with royal values. However, this was not without its risks. If Buckingham Palace chose to comment on the situation, it would inevitably reignite the public feud between Meghan and the royal family. Any official statement acknowledging the controversy could be seen as an attempt to humiliate her further, which might garner sympathy from her supporters. On the other hand, remaining silent could give the impression that they were tacitly allowing the media storm to unfold without offering any defense. There was also the matter of Prince Charles, now King Charles III. Since taking the throne, he had sought to modernize the monarchy's image, focusing on diplomacy and avoiding overt conflict with Harry and Meghan. If the allegations surrounding Meghan's past proved damaging enough, would Charles feel compelled to take a stronger stance? Would there be internal discussions about further stripping Meghan and Harry of any remaining royal privileges, such as their Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles? The impact on Prince William and Kate Middleton was another point of consideration. While William had largely avoided direct public commentary on his brother's decisions, there was no denying that tensions between the two had remained high. If this scandal unfolded in a way that embarrassed Harry and Meghan, it could shift the balance of public sympathy. William and Kate had been quietly reinforcing their image as the stable, duty-bound future of the monarchy, and any fallout from Meghan's scandal could bolster their standing by comparison. Yet, beyond the palace intrigue and media frenzy, there was the larger question of how this controversy would affect Meghan's future endeavors. She and Harry had built their post-royal careers on media deals, brand partnerships, and public speaking engagements. Their Netflix documentary, podcast projects, and philanthropic work all relied on their image as a couple standing for truth, justice, and authenticity. If Meghan's past was now being questioned at this level, would companies and organizations continue to align themselves with her? Would speaking engagements be cancelled, brand deals reconsidered? In a world where reputation is currency, even unproven allegations could have long-term financial consequences. The American media's response was notably different from that of the British press. While UK outlets leaned heavily into the controversy, American platforms were more cautious. Meghan and Harry had been embraced by Hollywood elites, particularly those who championed social causes. However, as the story gained momentum, even some of her previous supporters found themselves at a crossroads: defend her against what might be an unfounded smear campaign, or quietly step away to avoid potential reputational damage by association. There was also the looming question of whether the controversy would impact Harry and Meghan's relationships with high-profile allies. Figures like Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, and Serena Williams had been vocal supporters of Meghan in the past. Would they publicly stand by her now, or would they wait for more details to emerge before taking a stance? One of the most significant consequences of this scandal was its potential effect on Meghan and Harry's legal standing. If the document was verified and contained information contradicting past statements Meghan had made, it could open the door for legal challenges. For instance, if any financial records surfaced that conflicted with previous tax filings, it could trigger further investigation. If employers listed on the CV disputed their involvement with her, it could lead to defamation cases or credibility issues. For Meghan and Harry, the months ahead would be crucial in determining whether they could weather this storm or if it would permanently alter their trajectory. If handled poorly, it could lead to a slow decline in their influence, a gradual erosion of public support. However, if they managed to control the narrative effectively, it was still possible to emerge relatively unscathed, particularly if they positioned themselves as victims of yet another unjust attack. The royal family, too, would need to decide how to navigate this situation. Would they take a hands-off approach, allowing Meghan to deal with the fallout on her own? Or would they subtly encourage the media to continue scrutinizing the claims, reinforcing the distance between Meghan and the institution? One thing was certain: this revelation had reignited interest in Meghan Markle's past, and the effects would not disappear overnight. Every aspect of her history would now be scrutinized more than ever, with investigators, journalists, and the public digging deeper into her past than ever before. For Meghan and Harry, the challenge was no longer just about denying the allegations. It was about proving, beyond doubt, that their version of events was the truth. But in a world where perception often matters more than reality, the battle was only just beginning. Whenever a high-profile controversy emerges, particularly one involving figures as polarizing as Meghan Markle and Ghislaine Maxwell, the floodgates open to speculation, theories, and deep-seated conspiracies. In an era where social media amplifies every rumor, and where hidden agendas often influence the spread of information, separating truth from fiction becomes a complex challenge. The revelation of an alleged CV with controversial implications has sparked widespread debate, with theories ranging from plausible explanations to outright conspiracies that some believe may have deeper political, social, or financial motives. One of the prevailing theories suggests that the timing of this leak is not coincidental. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have been the subject of intense scrutiny ever since their highly publicized departure from the royal family. Their Their tell-all interviews, documentaries, and public statements have been viewed by some as an ongoing effort to reshape their narrative, while others see it as a deliberate attempt to dismantle the carefully constructed image of the monarchy. Given the tensions between the Sussexes and the royal family, some believe that this document's emergence may be part of a coordinated effort to discredit Meghan at a critical juncture in their careers. The theory suggests that forces within the British establishment, or even powerful media figures with royal connections, may have played a role in bringing this alleged document to light. If this was an orchestrated attack, the goal would be to destabilize Meghan and Harry's public image, forcing them into a defensive position while reinforcing the idea that Meghan was never truly forthcoming about her past. For those who believe the monarchy operates behind closed doors to protect its image, this theory aligns with the long-standing suspicion that efforts are constantly being made to manage, control, or suppress information about those connected to the royal family. Another widely discussed theory revolves around Ghislaine Maxwell's motives. Many question why she would choose to reveal this document now, and whether she has additional materials that have yet to be disclosed. One theory suggests that Maxwell is using this as a test, an initial revelation to gauge the public's reaction before potentially releasing more damaging information. If this document gains traction and is believed to be authentic, Maxwell may see it as an opportunity to prove that she still holds influence over certain narratives. Additionally, there is the possibility that Maxwell is not acting alone. She has long been connected to some of the most powerful figures in global politics, business, and entertainment. Some theorists speculate that her legal troubles have placed her in a vulnerable position, making her susceptible to coercion or blackmail from those who either wish to silence her or use her as a tool for their own agendas. If this theory holds any truth, then the leak of the document may not have been entirely her decision, but rather an orchestrated move by outside parties with vested interests in either damaging Meghan Markle or redirecting media attention away from other unfolding scandals. A different but equally intriguing theory centers around the idea that this document is part of a larger smear campaign, not by the royal family or media elites, but by figures within Hollywood or the corporate world. Meghan's rise to fame after leaving the royal family has not been without controversy, particularly as she and Harry have entered the realms of media production, philanthropy, and political activism. In these circles, power struggles are common, and competition for influence can be ruthless. If Meghan's growing presence in Hollywood has threatened certain figures or business interests, the emergence of a damaging document could be an effort to curtail her influence before it expands further. There is also a theory suggesting that this CV may not be entirely fabricated, but rather an altered or exaggerated version of an authentic document. This theory argues that while Meghan Markle may have indeed had a resume from her early career that included legitimate work, someone with an agenda may have tampered with it, adding misleading job descriptions, rewording sections to create ambiguity, or inserting false employers to manufacture controversy. If this were the case, it would explain why no definitive proof has emerged yet to validate or disprove the document's claims. Another layer of speculation is the idea that Meghan herself may have been aware that such a document existed, and has been taking preemptive steps to control the damage before it spirals out of control. In the past, celebrities and high-profile figures have often engaged in strategic crisis management when faced with potential scandals. If Meghan and her team were aware that this document could surface, their recent public relations efforts may have been shaped around mitigating the fallout. This could explain why Meghan has remained relatively guarded in recent months, appearing more selective about her public engagements, and carefully curating her media appearances. A more far-fetched theory suggests that this revelation is not just about Meghan Markle, but part of a much larger web of disclosures that could extend to other high-profile figures. Those who support this theory believe that Maxwell's document leak is the beginning of a series of controlled releases meant to expose multiple individuals who have been involved in hidden dealings. If Maxwell has access to other documents of a similar nature, this could be a warning shot, an indication that more revelations are on the way, and that no one is truly safe from exposure. The internet has fueled even more speculative angles, with some going as far as to claim that artificial intelligence, or deepfake technology, may be involved in the creation of the document. In an age where digital manipulation is increasingly sophisticated, skeptics argue that without concrete proof, any document can be altered to create a misleading narrative. If the document was digitally edited or created using AI, it would make it nearly impossible to verify its authenticity without forensic analysis. This theory posits that the entire controversy could be a manufactured distraction designed to shift focus away from other high-profile matters taking place in the political or entertainment world. Despite the abundance of theories, the lack of concrete evidence means that much of the discourse remains speculative. Some believe that the document will eventually be verified, and that it is only a matter of time before more information surfaces to confirm its authenticity. Others believe that the document will ultimately be debunked, dismissed as an elaborate hoax, and forgotten as just another unsubstantiated claim that gained brief traction before fading into obscurity. The role of mainstream media in perpetuating or suppressing the story is also a subject of debate. While some outlets have aggressively covered the claims, others have been more cautious, either due to legal concerns or a reluctance to engage with a potentially fabricated controversy. This has led some theorists to argue that there is an active effort to control the narrative, either to prevent a damaging truth from coming to light or to stop misinformation from spreading unchecked. One of the final theories that has emerged is that Meghan Markle herself will use this controversy to her advantage. If she and her team are able to successfully discredit the document and frame the situation as yet another example of targeted harassment, it could further solidify her position as a victim of media attacks. This would allow her to reinforce her narrative of being unfairly persecuted, and could even generate further sympathy from her supporters. If handled correctly, this scandal could be spawned into a rallying point for her public image, transforming it from a potential downfall into a moment of vindication. No matter which theory one believes, one thing is certain. This controversy has reignited global interest in Meghan Markle's past and raised significant questions about how information is controlled, leaked, and interpreted in today's media landscape. Whether this is an orchestrated attack, a genuine revelation, or a fabricated distraction, the story is far from over. The coming weeks and months will determine whether this controversy fades into obscurity or escalates into a full-blown scandal with consequences that extend beyond Meghan Markle alone. With the controversy surrounding Meghan Markle's alleged CV continuing to gain momentum, the question now shifts from what has happened to what will happen next. Every high-profile scandal follows a trajectory. Some fade into obscurity, buried under the weight of more pressing news, while others escalate into full-blown crises with long-lasting consequences. The way this situation unfolds will depend on multiple factors, including the actions of those involved, the emergence of new evidence, and the response of the public and the media. One of the immediate questions is whether any further documents will surface. Thus far, the controversy has centered around a single CV that allegedly contains damaging information. However, if Ghislaine Maxwell or others associated with her claim to have additional records, then this could merely be the beginning of a larger exposure. If more documents, emails, or financial records emerge that support the claims made in the CV, it would shift the narrative from speculation to undeniable proof, making it significantly harder for Meghan and her team to dismiss the allegations. A major factor in determining what happens next is the response of Meghan's legal team. Thus far, their strategy has been to issue strong denials and to discredit the source of the allegations rather than directly refuting the specific claims made in the document. If the controversy continues to grow, Meghan's legal team will have to decide whether to take further action. They could pursue legal measures to prevent the dissemination of the document, sue media outlets for defamation, or file lawsuits against those responsible for leaking the information. However, legal action comes with risks. If Meghan's team files a lawsuit, they will likely be required to provide evidence proving that the CV is false. This could include making tax records, employment history, or other private documents public, which may expose even more details about her past. Additionally, lawsuits can have the unintended consequence of drawing further attention to a controversy rather than putting it to rest. If the controversy does not die down, it is also possible that Meghan herself will be forced to address it more directly. Up until now, her strategy has been to allow spokespeople and legal representatives to handle the response, but public pressure could eventually force her to speak out in an interview or an official statement. If she does choose to address the issue, the way she frames her response will be critical. One option is for her to completely deny the allegations, reiterating that the document is a fabrication and that those spreading the story are engaged in a smear campaign. This approach would be most effective if no further evidence emerges to contradict her denial. However, if additional information comes to light, this strategy could backfire, making it appear as though she was trying to hide the truth. Another possible response is for Meghan to acknowledge the existence of the CV, but claim that it has been manipulated or misrepresented. This would allow her to control the narrative by admitting that a document does exist while arguing that it does not contain the damaging details that have been reported. This strategy could be particularly effective if she is able to provide an alternative explanation for any inconsistencies that might arise. There is also the possibility that Meghan and her team will attempt to redirect the conversation away from the controversy entirely. This could involve making a major announcement, such as a new project, an upcoming media appearance, or a charity initiative, to shift public focus onto a different aspect of her life and career. Celebrities often use this strategy when faced with negative press, knowing that public attention is fickle and can easily be diverted by a new headline. Beyond Meghan's personal response, the role of the media will also play a significant part in determining how this controversy evolves. If major news organizations continue to pursue the story, conducting their own investigations and interviewing sources, it will be much harder for the scandal to fade away. However, if media interest begins to wane, the story may gradually lose traction, overshadowed by other global events. The royal family's reaction, or lack thereof, will also be closely watched. Thus far, Buckingham Palace has remained silent, refusing to comment on Meghan Markle's latest controversy. This silence could be interpreted in multiple ways. It may indicate that they view the situation as irrelevant to the monarchy and do not wish to be dragged into further drama. Or it could be a strategic decision to allow the scandal to damage Meghan's credibility without needing to intervene directly. If the controversy continues to escalate, it is possible that